So we're waiting for a couple of more people to join us. So we wait for another like 2-3 minutes and then we can start.
How many are you expecting, Ursula?
I think around 10 to 15 people.
Perfect.
Do you see anybody already, or?
Yes, I think a couple of people have already joined. So. Okay. Nasser has joined us.
Yeah,
That's good.
Hello.
Morning, Nasser.
Hello.
Morning.
Hi. Sorry, I am so sorry. I'm technology problems.
Can't imagine.
How are you?
We can't hear you through your mic right now.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you now, yeah.
Now,
Okay. Sorry about the hiccup I've had today.
Can I please ask you to join, to log into your streamer, and then we can make this start?
Okay. And meanwhile, can you make the announcement about the streamer, please?
Yes, sure. So we are using today, you have captioning available today. So if you click on the CC button, you can see the captioning, and we're using Interact Streamer platform for today's captioning. So if you have any questions, you can just email us about that.
Okay. So I'm just about to also log into the streamer myself. My full apologies for the delay, but meanwhile, Peter and Richard, would you like to make an introduction to yourself? So, and I will just start the session.
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Richard Gray. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Brightday. And I'd like to introduce my co-founder, Peter.
hi, I'm Peter, German. So we have a British and a German accent here. And I'm head of product to develop something that actually works and is hopefully a joy to use.
Okay, thank you very much for both. Now, I'm just about to get into my caption won't appear at the moment because I haven't logged in. But what I wanted to actually set up this session for is we've seen a huge rise in number of people complaining of back pain. Actually, sorry, I better start only when I've got the streamer going, because I know one of the participants would want to see the captioning, and unless I have it done, it's going to lose the benefit. So I had a bit of a crash of my computer, and hence I had to reboot, and it's taking a bit longer than it should do, I'm afraid.
Well, just so everybody knows, Peter and I are actually in California. So even though I'm British and he's German, this is a Californian company, and we're in San Francisco, and it's very dark outside still. It's about 6 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
So, and I gather you all are just out of COVID lockdown. I'm afraid we're going the other way here. So enjoy your newfound freedoms while we're in severe lockdown here in San Francisco.
Well, thankfully we had our election a few months before you, so that's why we are in a better state than you are. Okay, I am now logged in, and I hope everyone can see my captions as well. Okay, well, one of the reasons why we wanted to do this, of course, this is series 7, I think, of our webinars, to try to bring very useful products, especially for the COVID period. And the issue we've encountered across the range of our clients, whether it's corporates or students, this home working is causing, putting them at serious risk of long-term injury because of the bad practice and poor posturing when they work from home, especially slouching over laptops and crunched in a very corner. So when I came across Brightday, it actually was something that I felt it was extremely good to help people to take care of themselves. And so far, I've been using it, and thanks to the technical genius of Peter, he's managed to make my 8-year-old iMac actually do what it's supposed to do. And so it does show it's a robust product, even though my machine is not up to scratch for it. But however, I think you will find it extremely useful. I don't think this is the end of this webinar for this, because there are several other things you want to bring together as a series of well-being and keeping people safe. So I hope this would be a good start for Peter and Richard to actually talk about the product and how he will help people to keep safe and obviously carry on working productively. Over to you, Richard.
Thank you so much, Nasser. Folks, it's a real pleasure to be talking to you and to introduce you to Brightday. We're super excited about it. We've been 3 years in development. And as Nasser said, Brightday it's really novel technology. And I'm going to take you through a few slides just to introduce it. And then we're going to get right into it, because I think the most impressive thing about Brightday is actually seeing it in action. And we're going to be able to do that for you live, and then we can do a Q&A. So the good fun thing about this for me is that you all know about the risks that are out there for people that are working from home, that have sedentary lifestyles, that are forced to sit in all sorts of different circumstances. The trends we're really dealing with Brightday are the ones that have come about this year in no uncertain terms, with people working from home, and what we'd seen prior to that, which was the move to unassigned seating and distributed workforces. So that new trend, I think all of us would agree that as we come out of this crisis, there's going to be some hybrid version of these 3 meta trends that we call, that's going to become the new normal going forward for workplaces. Our solution is it's ergonomics guidance software. So we use the camera of the computer, it's software only, and it's incredibly easy to download and get into using Brightday right away. There's very little onboarding that's required. And it's the first ever robust ergonomics guidance software out there. And our aim is to look at helping people with posture and movement during the working day. Now, you'll all be very familiar with these current solutions, so I don't need to go into a lot of details. Obviously, ergonomic consultants, we all use them. They play a vital role in providing ergonomics into particularly the larger companies. We've got desk furniture, and the stand-up desks has been such a new trend that we've all seen. Guess what? You can stand really badly just as much as you can sit really badly. So that's something we address with Brightday. And of course, we've seen some wearables come out in the market that we don't think have been too sticky with consumers. What does Brightday do? Brightday uses computer vision. So we use the camera of the computer to track and monitor people in real time. That's actually an incredibly difficult thing to do really well, because the camera of our computers is actually an extremely simple bit of hardware. It's not like the cameras on our phones, which are really complex and expensive. The poor old camera of the computer has been left in the dark ages. So it's been something it's been difficult for my team to really get it so that it would be something that people can trust, that people can use all day. So there's a lot of, what I hope you'll find is that this looks so incredibly simple. But the engine room behind this is extremely complex. I'm going to kind of, as I said, it's a very simple download. we've really designed it so that you can use it while you work. This was absolutely key. We didn't want to compete for people's time. So we want people to use Brightday while they're working, while they're going through their day-to-day work, and they utilize it for as much of the working day as they can. And the third thing that we provide, which is we provide recommendations, and we give you your tendencies and how you can improve your posture at the end of those sessions. So that becomes like something it's relatively simple. We're not trying to be super technical as much as give people information that they're leaning in, that they have certain tendencies that they can work on and be aware of. It's a behavior change model. So as Peter will show you, what we do is we give instruction, then there is while you work practice, and then we give you feedback, run, repeat. That behavior change model is the very basis to what we see as something that will really help individuals acquire new skills and new behaviors that are better for their health and well-being.
And one thing to that, so the instructions are very basic little videos. So we are not replacing the in-person assessment or online assessment remotely to then, it's more about applying what you learned in the moment and then being able to support that behavior throughout the day instead of then being left alone and have that as a every day to remind you of what you wanted to achieve.
Great. And again, I won't go too much into detail here, but the value proposition, and I think it is important, obviously, with you folks that are going to be on the front line showing this to companies and et cetera, is, you know, the value proposition is pretty simple. It's an engaging tool that individuals can use all day. It really is the latest tech, and I think that you'll enjoy seeing that. It is data driven, so the data that comes out of that for the individual, and then that data gets anonymized for the company and collated so that they can see usage data, et cetera, for, you know, on a monthly or weekly basis, whatever suits them. So they can actually see what's going on out there with regards how people are using the tool, where there might be issues, et cetera. And this is really about, you know, we want to be able to quantify something that is traditionally been really difficult to quantify in ergonomics, which is, you know, how big of a problem is posture? How can we correct that? And this tool provides that that value proposition.
Richard, is this the data collected individual machines fed back to some sort of a centralized dashboard, or is that the configuration that each employee working for a company might have that information taken off by the central, you know, the data collection? So how is it done?
Peter, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so everything happens on the computer. No images are uploaded or anything, and your data stays on your computer, and you have a login, so to say, for a backend, which is driven by Google, so it's under all the security of Google. And so if you log in with another computer, you will be able to see your data,
right?
But nobody else can see it. So the company only gets the collated data, and then if you want to share the data with your physician or an assessor or whatever you want to share it to, you could, but in general, it's your private data.
Okay, no, it's very clear.
Yeah, and even when it goes to the company, it's just in a number form. So it doesn't say NASA. This is data. It's like, you know, 1,000, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 data. So we've been very careful with that for obvious reasons.
That's important, because I think confidentiality and privacy and health is quite important, and people quite rightly would be concerned if without their knowledge the data has been passed to their employers and they get blamed for, well, you got a back pain because you're not sitting properly and it's your fault. That's as long as you can use the data to modify behavior, it's great. But we, you know, from our experience, employees will be reluctant to use any monitoring device that can you know, be taken out of context, and people might just feel that they might get punished. So I'm glad you clarified that. I just had to bring that up. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Just to add, Nasser, the data we're collecting doesn't require us to be HIPAA compliant.
Yeah.
You know, it's just you know, because we're looking at tendency data and usage data. There's nothing medical about that,
Yeah.
so that's why we don't do that.
Okay, of course. Thank you.
And without further ado, let's get into the meat and drink of this, which is a live demo from Peter. Thank you.
So I will start with our old version, which has a little bit more features still. The new one that I will show you later is not completely built out yet. We are pretty far along, but I want you to be able to see everything. So you got this little start screen here where you get a tip, and then it starts automatically. And
just if you don't mind me saying, Peter, just with that, the version that we will be selling through you folks, which will be available by probably the 3rd week in December, so right around Christmas, will be the one that will be available, and you know, when we go into full sales mode in the beginning of January.
So you'll be selling your product before the vaccine comes out. That's really, that you beat them first. That's really good.
Yeah,
it's a similar problem.
We'll be doing that, and we'll actually be launching it officially at CES this year, which is
okay,
digital
great.
CES, just so you guys know. But you'll have it before them. So.
Yeah.
By the way, Peter, I'm not familiar with this image because normally when I click on the setup, I see my own picture inside. Now I'm seeing your picture, so I feel rather weird.
Yeah, this is the setup screen, as Nasser said. So the software, after you download it, it starts automatically in the morning or whenever you set the timer to start, and then it pops up, and you can decide if you have your camera like me on your laptop right in front of you, or if you would have your camera to the side and you have your main monitor in front of you, the laptop is to the side, then I would use the left or right setting. And that was one thing that was really difficult to solve for. And in the new software, that's even easier. You don't have to do that anymore. Now the computer knows that you're at an angle to the left or to the right, and it automatically decides the better algorithm. And then you can switch between sit and stand, because here we're still using a slightly different algorithm. And I'm going to do sit. Here you can go to learn videos, and then I just set my posture, and all I see is this little window here. And the time is set for 15 minutes. In the new version, it's open-ended, and you just stop when you're done. And then that's why there's the timer going backwards. And you see the green B here. So if I'm moving to the left or to the right, then the color of the B is changing, and it's telling me in which position I'm at. And it works in 3 dimensions, works for moving back, moving forward, and if I slouch down. So just by tracking shoulders and head, we can actually see a lot of things that are happening to your spine. The leaning sideways is the more intuitive part to understand, but if you sit on your pelvis correctly, it's a little bit taller. So if I roll my pelvis forward, I actually shrink a little bit. So through that shrinkage, we know that your spine is not extended the way you want it to. Or if you start leaning in, we capture that. And we can even see when you're craning, and we can adjust we're going to have different modes of sensitivity, because for some people, they don't want to be too locked into the middle. So there we make it a little bit looser. And this is the demo version. So everything happens a little bit faster than normally. So, because normally we give you a little bit of time to be in a bad position, because being in a different position is not bad. It's when you get stuck in a different position. And then, so this comes up now fairly quickly. This is the heightened alert, so to say, where you then can still be guided back into your position that you want to be in by landing your the egghead in the middle. And people intuitively understand what to do and try it out, which is nice. And then up here you see the little B. So if I'm minimizing this one and I get into a bad position, you see how that becomes dark green and then it will be red. So that is a nice little feature that we have in our old version. The new version doesn't really need it. So then we have a whole bunch of learn videos, as we call them. So you see that we have sit, stand, and general. Sit is how to place your pelvis, what not to do, and with a little bit of examples. We didn't have any sound for them on purpose and tried to make it very visually intuitive, because we assumed that people sit next to each other in an office and don't necessarily have headsets. That situation has changed now. So people work from home and everybody, but I think, has a headset by now before all the Zoom meetings. So we're probably going to add a little bit of sound, but it's not necessarily needed.
I think you might be useful for people who are visually impaired and they can't see watch a video. So a very good description would be very, very helpful.
Yeah, that's true. And then we have chairs set up that you should plant your feet. We have keyboard that you should have it in front of you and not to the side. Because a lot of people, especially secretaries or people that work with paper, they put the keyboard to the side, take some notes, and then they keep on working tilted, and then they are surprised that they have lower back pain or neck pain. It's like, well, you're sitting like in a ringer all day, so it's not very optimal. So these are our learn videos. And then when I'm back here, I can show you our stats. So it's the time that I've been using it right now, and my tendencies: leaning left 16% and leaning in 16%, because I was demoing it to you. Here we will have movement score, but our new stats gonna be much more advanced compared to that. So in the new one, we will have a heat map of your positions where you've been going out of your good position, from the frontal view, left, right, up and down, and then also from the side, how you've been leaning in. So by that, you can see what your tendencies are more visually. And then also we're going to have a movement score, which is, if you sit completely still, that is might sound perfect to satisfy the software, but in reality, you want to be moving around your good position and keep active. And let me show you that too here. I'm going here under the So if I'm sitting in completely still position, then we have a little pop-up that is blue. We call it frozen, and you have to move around, and we can adjust how much you have to move, or you could display a little exercise, a stretch, or whatever is appropriate in your situation. And so it's a reminder that you shouldn't sit still. Because some people feel that they need to be perfectly in one position all day just because they use the software. We also have a break reminder. So I'm demoing that one now. So it reminds you time to walk around, because after 15 minutes that pops up, and then after another 20, and that cadence is still true. Right now it's popping up all the time because it's in demo mode. So I'll show you if I'm gone, so that's faking it, obviously, but I'm just covering the camera for now. If I take a break, then it turns white, the V, and then the timer goes back to white also. And if I open up the camera again, I get a congratulations that I took a break. So these are things that help you not only to sit in a good position and gain awareness of your tendencies when you read or when you work on a spreadsheet, or you watch a video and you start slouching back because you don't have to do anything actively, that you're aware of your posture tendencies, but you also stay active and move in your seat. Plus, you get the opportunity to be reminded that you should take a break, but we never stop you from working. It's always just an awareness tool. So with this, I'm going to end this session in our old version. And when you end it, you get this, and you can change the time that it's going to pop up the next day very simply. And now I'm going to show you the new version, which is a little more advanced. So it's not a big window anymore. It's just a hovering dot, so to say. I can drag it wherever I want to. And then I can start my session. So now I see myself here in the window. I can turn on and off the monitor if I want to. Here we will have analytics. Here the settings, they are not active yet. Here we have our learning hub, which looks a little different. It's more compact and will also be sized that it works on a phone if you want to do that. And then you can go to your different instances and play the videos right here. This is all not, doesn't have the right titles yet, but this is in development mode. But it's close. And now, now let's look at our set posture. So now all you see is this. I have to get out of my good position. You see how this is tracking and how small it is. You also see that there's a little line on top, a little yellow line on top. That is 60 minutes. One time around is 60 minutes. So you're always aware how long you've been sitting. And if I'm in good position, it completely disappears. So I have the full screen to myself. And if I go into a bad position, it's right now in training mode. So after 15 seconds, then it will pop up. So I'm just reading something or talking to you. And that's interesting because I still do that. It catches me all the time. That's like, oh, I wasn't aware that I'm actually in a bad position. So, and then it disappears. And then for this version, we will have 3 settings. One is going to be what we call training, which is what we have right now. And then the other one is going to be a more relaxed version where you have more time to be in a bad position. And you don't have to move as much. I'm trying to not move at all right now. Then we're going to get a pop-up in blue. We don't have a demo version yet, so where we have a super short timing. And then we're going to have a third version, which is basically just collecting the data and giving you break reminders. But that way you have no interaction that stops you from working or annoys you, and you're in control of how much feedback you want. But overall, it's much more invisible and gives you space to work. And
yeah, and all the functionality that you saw on the old version will be built into this new version. So yeah. Peter can take the little window, he can put that wherever he wants on the screen. That can be, so you can put it in top right, out of the way, wherever it suits you. So you kind of know where to look for the pop-up when you're in bad posture.
And if I want to set my new position, that works too. And we have one, never mind, there is no design yet, but just to show what I meant with heat map. You see how I've been sitting mostly in the middle and just a very little bit to the right. So there will be screens that where you know that you're looking from the front and a little description to it. So we can record this and show you that you've been sitting you tend to be over here, and we're going to probably ignore the good position because otherwise, hopefully, that's always going to be very red. And we're going to show you just how you divert from it. And then we can compare that also to your last week, month, and so forth. And if you see a real tendency that you're always hanging to one side or you're always hanging back, you gain awareness to counter that. Or maybe talk to a physician or to an assessor. There might be something wrong with my setup because I can't maintain the position I want to be in. And then we can give you other helping, or you provide from MicroLink, you provide other tools how to sit more efficiently.
You want to show the break reminder, Peter?
Can't. We don't have that demo mode yet. But I can show you what happens when I'm not visible.
I think this is actually extremely useful, this feature. I haven't played with the new version, Peter. As you quite rightly said, my computer is on the capability. So we have many clients, and as you know, millions of people are working from home. And it's not that they don't want to do the right thing, they just don't know how bad the problem is. So having this with their employees, at least for a small pilot, they can then gain some understanding of the habits of people having, the way they actually sit and work. And by analyzing that, then they know where the problems are and how to address it. So I think this is extremely valuable, especially the heat map, because you know when you're working, you're subconsciously doing things you're not aware of, and one of them is absolutely reaching out for something and staying in a bad position for too long. And that happens to me all the time. If I'm trying to print something or approve some other transaction, then I'll lean towards that, and I can be in that position for 5 minutes at a time. So this is very helpful.
Yeah, and so what we are also doing to suppress alerts, it's still work in progress, but if you turn your head all the way to the right or left, or if you look down and take notes on paper, then we actually suppress the alerts because you're not interacting with the computer, meaning you can't be in the right position in relationship to your computer. So your set posture will be wrong anyways. So let me open up the camera, and I should have closed it long enough that I get our little, so it's finding me again, and then I get a little good break.
And if you actually have these data, can you link it to a potential problem that might give you, like if you lean too much to the left, what kind of problem would you expect will happen if you continue with that posture, or if you lean too much?
We don't want to be diagnostic and or predictive about that. We want to give you the tools to be aware of it, and then you can talk, because everybody has a different physique. You might have scoliosis, you might have already a damaged disc in your lower back, and you might be working on something that you want to overcome with your physician. We don't want to interfere there. We want to give you tools that you can go back to your physician and say, look, I have pain, and it seems like my tendency is this. How does that affect me? And then over time, we might learn some things where we can give general tips, but we want to stay away from being diagnostic.
Absolutely, that's a good point. Thanks for highlighting that.
And on the, you saw the break reminder come up. So over the course of a day, that's a really important stat that for me, it's the one I watch more than the posture, which is how many, out of my 8-hour working day, how many times have I got up and moved around, and how much time have I spent away from my desk?
Well, that's actually a very important information for the health and safety people, to make sure they can ask people, are you taking the right breaks? And that is something that they're concerned that people may not take their own health and safety seriously. I've had that conversation. How do you inform people of what they have to do in order to stay safe, and how do we know they are doing it? That's the kind of a thing that I was thinking is they could use this as a pilot of number of their staff, and to just come up to understand what problems they're dealing with, and hopefully they can address that issue by providing guidance on how to work healthily and safely, especially working from home.
Yeah, I mean, I think NASA, for the smaller companies and mid-sized companies, what Brightday does, it provides a tool that everybody in the workforce can use. They can use it wherever they're working from, and it provides a preventative measure around this whole notion of ergonomics and posture and sedentary behavior, which once workers are outside the office and working from home, et cetera, becomes an even more difficult aspect for them to handle. For the much bigger companies, and we've had some conversations with, for example, HSBC, where they are, they're looking at it and they're thinking, well, hold on a sec, we're having such problems getting anybody to look at ergonomics, period, and do anything preventative, that we could use Brightday as a way for them to, we could say to them, you have to watch a certain number of videos, and then you have to use Brightday for whatever, a certain period of time every quarter. And that becomes kind of a requirement. And that, again, puts them in a preventative measure across a huge workforce, which is really what they're looking to do, which is how can they improve their the numbers that they're getting about assessments and problems with back pain.
That's a very good point.
So I just wanted to show quickly, this is more designed. So you have like a fake heat map here, and then you see that there's a silhouette where you see that you're seeing yourself from the front. And then here you got your side view and have a heat map as well. And down here, this is, there's gonna be some more stats as you scroll down, but here you're gonna have your today's movement score, so to say, your movement level. If you're hovering down here, then you didn't move at all, and you ignored your reminders to stay in motion. And then if you're very active, then you go all the way up here. And we might even have a top out where if you're moving all the time, that might not be so good either, because maybe you're not very productive anymore. Yeah. But and then the white bars, that's just dummied up. It's not real yet. That could be indicating, will be indicating your breaks that you took, and it shows how long they are. And then the red line will indicate your past average over the same time period of the day to compare how you've been doing compared to your last couple of months. So you have always your baseline and you see how you've been active. And it will be slightly clustered together, so you don't have a zigzag over every second, even though we can measure every second. We collate it together so you get a smoother curve over the day to see where your active parts are and where you're, and then you can correlate it yourself, because you know that in that period I've been here, I watched a video. I started to be a couch potato, whereas here I was doing something else and I was more active. And again, nothing is bad, but we want you to know what you do. And if you're not happy with it, or you feel that you're losing energy in a certain position or by being inactive, you know what to do. You can counter it.
Very, very useful, because I know from our data, somewhere like 70% or 65% of absenteeism was caused by musculoskeletal pain. And we know from our, also the long research we've done, we reduced those absenteeism by nearly 80% by giving them the correct ergonomic solution. But preventative measures are much better than cure. So if you're able to tackle this change behavior, then those extra costs and loss of productivity will never happen. So I think it's an extremely good investment for employers, and that's why I've given this to my workforce to start, because I learn a lot from using things myself and my team before we go out and start recommending. Hence, I invited you guys to do this for us. It's not just about this particular webinar. We are recording this so that we can pass it to all our existing clients and obviously those interested, because what you've just demonstrated is really the essence of it, is that you got to look after your health, especially when you're working from home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'll stop sharing my screen so we have bigger faces.
Yeah, I think one of the things we learned, NASA, was, so one of our clients is Airbnb. So Airbnb, what they do is that they offer Brightday Up. When somebody comes in and asks for an assessment, they offer Brightday Up as a kind of like, well, come and use Brightday first before you go and have an assessment, because that may solve your problem. So what we find in something around 25% of a workforce either request or require some form of ergonomic assessment each calendar year.
Yeah.
So that's probably, you probably have the same thing, I'm sure. And we found that in a lot, we found that to be a very consistent number. It's actually closer to 30%. And so
even with the young workforces that they have.
And this is the thing that stunned us, is that, Airbnb has an average age of 28 years old. And that number still stays up. So it is not just about older employees being affected more. We're seeing it all the way down into the younger employees. And so using it as a tool as a potential, really something that employees can use really early on, before a problem becomes much bigger. And we all know that when back problems, if we leave them and they become a bigger problem, that's when it becomes incredibly expensive.
Yeah, but that's absolutely right. The thing is, Richard, by the way, we've come across this situation, that 25%, as you mentioned, they're more of a categorized at discomfort, which is like to do with the proper setup, DSC setup. Whereas if you start, if it continues for too long, then you fall into that musculoskeletal long-term issue, which under the British Equalities Act is a disability. And if it's a disability, then your employer has to take reasonable measures, which always ends up in ergonomics interventions, which are quite expensive. And what we have tried is to really reduce that burden for the employers, because ultimately, I think the employees not coming to work is more expensive than the equipment they have to buy to put it right. So I'm all for these preventative measures, and I think there are lots of tools that we've recently introduced to tackle with that bad practice that people do. If you look at the young people, university, especially young people, they will they will lie on bed and put their laptop on their chest, and they work on that one instead of sitting properly. And this is really where that is storing up problem for future.
Yeah, and then I just want to make clear also that we're not replacing the assessment and deciding what tools you need, or a teaching lesson, how to set yourself up. We have the little videos, they are supportive, but in the end, having somebody that helps you in person, even if it's remotely, is unreplaceable and will be needed, but that person is going to leave, and then the user sits there by themselves, they forget how to do it properly, or they start in the morning in perfect position, and then half an hour later, they work on a project and they forgot about themselves. I mean, that's the problem with computers, right? You completely forget that you have a body and that you're there, and you're just crawling closer and closer into your device. And that's where we are there to make whatever the assessor helped you with last longer and better.
Believe me, no matter how many wearable technologies or smart technologies we introduce, there's always going to be a need for doctors and people, practitioners who need to put us right. There's been more demand for them as we go along, because we are living a very unhealthy lifestyle. That's a fact.
And I think I'd just add one other point, which I love it because it's so true, is that so what companies are generally doing is they're giving employees more equipment. So, oh, you're working from home, great, here's an allowance to go and buy a chair and da-da-da-da. The problem with that, you can sit really badly in a $500-600 chair.
Yes,
you know, I mean,
I know that.
Just because you bought an expensive chair doesn't really solve the issue. The issue is it's about your own habit, your own behavior, and your own physical setup of your spine, your hips, etc. So that's kind of why, you know, we're kind of like, yeah, great, go and get some new equipment, spend some money on that. But for God's sake, have something that works alongside of that, such that you utilize that equipment optimally.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well,
I met a. I think we've got 10 minutes. I'm going to leave that for questions. But one thing I had, I went to meet a professor of musculoskeletal conditions in a local university. She's head of a research center, which is national. And I was talking about MSK as a condition and what we do for it. And she kind of said, you do realize dealing with musculoskeletal pain is not just physical. It's a lot to do with mental as well. It's not the chair that fixes the problem. It's that the person's sense and perception that actually I have a solution, so the pain actually automatically somewhat eases. And this is very true. You know, I could say to people, you can fix your condition. We can give you the most expensive chair, and we have got experience of that. One of our clients used to have the most top of the range chairs for all of them, not just for people who needed extra help. And they had the highest rate of referrals coming to us from back pain. And one day they paid us to go and it was 2-3-story building. Every day we used to go in and provide a proper adjustment to each chair to make sure people are sitting correctly.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely right that to reinforce your point, it's not the equipment that saves your back, it's you. And if you don't know what you're doing, you'll carry on doing the wrong thing. So I totally get that. Yes, I don't know if there's any questions on the, but I've asked too many questions already, I'm sure. But if there isn't any, then I would, if there is any points you want to make, final points, and then I would like to thank you for your time. It's early day in San Francisco, so we're really grateful for you.
The sun is coming up.
Yeah.
Listen, I think I would just like to say, look, for us, you know, we've been developing this for 3 years. We're very excited to put it into the marketplace. We've done some really good work with some major companies here, and I mentioned Airbnb being one. And now it's kind of time to get it out there. And the new version is so much better than the old one. And so you're going to be the first to see that. And we're really excited to put it out in the marketplace, the first alongside of Airbnb, I should say. And so we'd love to get your feedback and any questions you have. You know, Peter at brightday.com, Richard at brightday.com, just fire them straight at us, and we'll get back to you very quickly.
We've already started. I'm sorry, Peter, but I've already started giving the activation code for the demo version. So, and I'm inviting feedback from my contacts, and that's one thing. And I'm proud to say I'm the first person to break your software with my old machine. So, obviously, your feedback is always. My machine just gave me an error message, and you guys have been able to fix it. But no, I think this is important for us to get user feedback, and I'm hopefully by the time you launch your the version 2, we'll get some users to tell us how they found changing behavior using this tool. It's definitely helped me.
Oh, good. Glad to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, Peter. Go on.
No, but keep on. If you have anything to share about how it helped you, that's
definitely. I used to put up with a lot more. My threshold for pain was much higher previously because I didn't know I was doing the wrong thing. Whereas when I actually, sometimes I'm too busy replying to emails or doing these webinars. I mean, I've got 4 webinars back to back today. And by the time you finish, I mean, you don't realize, but your back has had such a toll on it. So you need to actually watch the how long you've been doing that position for, and very quickly I'll just go for a walk and come back. That's absolutely very helpful.
Good. And
Okay.
for the new version, if anybody sends us an email, and we can send you a link to download it, we are
Okay.
happy to you break it, whoever it is, because we need to
Yes.
know what's working and what doesn't. It works perfectly on our machines, and then we send it to somebody,
Yeah.
and then something doesn't work. And right now it's, I think, for Microsoft, it's pretty flexible, and for Mac, right now it's up to 10.15, I think, but the OS, but the operating system. But we are going further down every day, so to older machines.
I mean, as soon as I think my final, let's get the new version to everybody at Microlink ASAP.
Yeah.
Even if we get a couple of breaks from people who've got much older computers, I'd rather do that than have people use the old version now. You know, we've kind of moved now, everybody. So, you know, let's go with the new one and get it out there.
I like to know how good it is by giving it to my two young daughters, who are both students. And the minute they put it and test it, they're going to put the laptop on their chest, lying in bed and typing like this. And I like you have to tell them that's not the way to do it. And I'd like them to actually take it seriously. And that's the problem we will have to deal with, because student population, they think they're invincible.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've got 4 kids from 4 children in my care, from 17 all the way to 26, and all of them complain about back pain and they need massage.
And are they willing to change behavior?
Well, that's the point. You can take a horse to water, you can't force it to drink it, and that's the problem that we have to overcome. Young people need to know they're doing the wrong thing. That's the first thing. And then if they actually start linking that to the pain they're having, then they might do the right thing. And that is where we want apps like this to remind them what the right thing is as well. Not just telling them, also showing them what the right thing is. Well, it's been really great to have you both. And I'm really, as I said, this is just a warm-up for a next big event, because I think once we've got some user testing, I'd like to invite you back and talk to quite a lot other people on this kind of show, because we are sending this for approval for students, because there is a grant scheme here. And on top of that, all our clients have been contacted. So I think at some stage, we would like to have them here and for you to go through your latest version. And obviously, we'll have some feedback to give you as well.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Super excited. Thank you so much, Nasser. Thank you so much, everybody.
Well, thank you both. Thank you again. It's been a pleasure to have you both.
Stay well, everybody.
God bless. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.